Admiral Keong scratched his three-headed neck as he stared at the strange readings on his scanner. After 30 years of commanding the hegemonic fleet, he thought he'd seen everything in space. Ships made of crystal, living vessels that breathed, even ones carved from solid asteroid. But this was something new. The thing floating in front of him looked like someone had welded a bunch of metal scraps together during a weekend hobby project. The hull was covered in patches, dents, and what looked like duct tape. Various weapon systems stuck out at odd angles, none of them matching any known design. It was as if a child had drawn a spaceship and someone had actually built it. "Sir," his sensor officer Zefex called out, "the energy readings are... I don't understand them. They're showing as impossible." Keong floated over to check. The numbers made no sense. The ship's energy output fluctuated wildly, sometimes reading 0, sometimes showing levels that would power a small planet. Most confusing was the reactor signature. It seemed to be running on what their computers translated as coffee and stubborn will. Probably a primitive species, Keong decided. Send them the standard surrender demand. Their communications officer sent the message in over 50 galactic languages. "Unknown vessel, you have entered hegemonic space. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resistance is futile." The response came back almost immediately. In perfect galactic standard. "No, thank you." Keong blinked all 6 of his eyes. In 30 years he'd received angry responses, desperate pleas, and even marriage proposals, but never a polite refusal. "Sir?" Zefex looked confused. "Should I?" "Check the translation matrix." "Yes, run it again. Maybe it's broken." They ran the check 3 times. Each time the response came back the same. "No, thank you." Keong's patience ran thin. Unknown ships didn't just say no to the hegemonic fleet. He turned to his weapons officer. "Fire a warning shot across their bow. Nothing fatal, just a little energy burst to show them we're serious." The shot streaked through space, a bright blue pulse of energy that could melt through most ship hulls. But something strange happened when it got close to the human vessel. Space itself seemed to hiccup. "Sir!" Zefex's voice cracked with panic. "The shot just bent. It's curving around them like there's a..." The energy pulse suddenly turned into a swirling vortex. Keong watched in horror as 3 of his escort ships, each the size of a city block, got sucked into what looked like a miniature black hole. They disappeared completely, leaving only empty space. Then came the response from the human ship in a cheerful female voice. "Oh, sorry about that. Minji here. Our gravity knots are working a bit too well today. Are you guys okay? Those looked like expensive ships." Keong's jaw dropped, all 3 of them. "What did you just say?" "I'm Communications Officer Minji aboard the Pacific Dragon," the voice continued pleasantly. "Weapons Specialist Tae-ho is laughing because he bet those gravity knots would grab. Something, he says hi, by the way. You destroyed 3 of my ships." "Destroyed? Oh no, they're fine. They're just in a pocket dimension right now. We can get them back later. It's like putting them in timeout." Keong stared at his remaining bridge crew. They stared back. Nobody had prepared them for this. "Sir," whispered his tactical officer, "should we retreat?" "They're in a pocket dimension," Minji's voice explained patiently. "It's really quite safe. We use it to store emergency coffee supplies. Your crews are probably having tea with Captain Dae-sung right now." That's impossible," Keong managed to say. "Well, yes," agreed another voice, "presumably this Tae-ho. A lot of things we do are technically impossible. Makes life more interesting, don't you think?" The human ship slowly rotated to face them fully. Up close, Keong could see it had windows. Actual transparent windows. Through one of them he could swear he saw someone waving. "Listen," came Captain Dae-sung's voice, older and calmer than the others. "We really don't want any trouble. We're just passing through. How about we return your ships and call it even?" "You can't just... What are you?" Keong sputtered. "Humans," Dae-sung replied simply. "And we've got some very strange technology. Would you like to see more?" Before Keong could answer, alarms started going off on his bridge. "Sir, their ship it's moving." The human vessel wasn't just moving, it was doing a slow barrel roll. As it rotated, impossible things became visible. The ship had gardens on its hull, actual grass and trees growing in space. Some crew members were playing what looked like a ball game on one of the external decks. Without suits, how are they breathing out there? Someone whispered. Local atmosphere bubble, Tae-ho explained helpfully. Great for barbecues. Kyong sat, down heavily in his command chair. He'd been trained for first contact with hostile species, friendly species, even boring species. Nobody had trained him for cheerfully impossible species who apologized for accidentally kidnapping his ships. Admiral, Minji's voice was genuinely concerned, you sound stressed. Would you like some coffee? We make excellent coffee. I just want my ships back, Kyong said weakly. Of course, Tae-ho's working on that now. Fair warning, though, they might be a little confused when they come back. Pocket dimensions tend to make people think deep thoughts. True to their word, 3 swirling portals opened in space. The missing escort ships emerged, looking exactly as they had before. Except, they were all transmitting the same message. Have you ever really thought about the nature of existence? Kyong rubbed his head. It was going to be a very long day. Admiral Kyong's day went from bad to worse when the rest of his fleet arrived. 20 more warships jumped into the system, each bristling with enough firepower to level a small moon. The sight of them arriving should have made any enemy surrender immediately. Instead, the humans seemed pleased to see them. Oh, more friends, came Minji's cheerful voice. Wave hello, everyone. Through the windows, Kyong could see human crew members actually waving at the fleet. One was holding what looked like a homemade sign that read, Welcome to the neighborhood. Sir, his tactical officer reported, all ships are reporting the same readings. This human vessel, it shouldn't exist. Fire on it, Kyong ordered, frustration, overtaking caution. All ships concentrated fire on that monstrosity. A barrage of energy beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic rounds streaked toward the Pacific Dragon. Enough firepower to destroy a space station. Kyong waited for the explosion. Instead, something wonderful happened. The energy beams hit the human ship's shields and exploded into brilliant fireworks. Reds, blues, purples, and golds bloomed across space, like the galaxy's most beautiful celebration. The kinetic rounds turned into sparkles that danced around the ship. It was like watching the universe's best light show. Oh, that's pretty, came a new voice. Haiyan here. I've been working on making our shields more festive. Do you like the colors? I can change them if you prefer. Kyong's fleet stopped firing, mesmerized by the beauty of it. Then the humans fired back and reality broke completely. Their weapons looked wrong. Where normal ships had sleek energy cannons, the Pacific Dragon had what appeared to be oversized. Slingshots, catapults, and devices that defied identification. But when they fired, the projectiles moved faster than light. Not just faster than light. They moved so fast they arrived at their targets before they'd been fired. Sir! Zefek screamed, watching his instruments. Their kinetic rounds are traveling at impossible speeds. Our computers say they'll hit us yesterday. Gunner Jiwoo's voice came through clear and proud. Hey, watch this. I'm aiming for Tuesdays now. The human ship fired a single round. It hit the flagship 3 seconds before. Jiwoo pulled the trigger. The shot didn't damage them. It just left a message painted on their hull in glowing letters. You've got mail. Kyong's physicist, Dr. Glorbex, fainted. This breaks every law of physics, someone whispered. That's weird, Tae-ho replied thoughtfully. We don't seem to have any laws like that. Maybe we should get some? The battle continued, but it wasn't really a battle anymore. It was more like a one-sided demonstration of impossible things. The human ship twisted and moved in ways that hurt to look at. Sometimes it seemed to be in 2 places at once. Other times it moved in directions that didn't exist. Throughout all this impossible fighting, Kyong noticed something that bothered him more than the physics violations. The humans sounded happy. They were laughing during combat. With his entire fleet, is everyone having fun over there? Came a warm maternal voice. This is Yunseo, the ship's doctor. Who wants cookies? Cookies, Kyong muttered. During a battle? Combat cookies, Yunseo explained cheerfully. Scientifically proven to boost morale by 347%. I also have motivation juice if anyone's interested. That's... Kyong paused, trying to think of the right word. Impossible. Most things are, agreed Yunseo. But these cookies have chocolate chips, so they're worth the impossibility. Kyong watched in amazement as the human crew's performance actually improved during the fight. They moved faster, reacted quicker, and seemed to be enjoying themselves more with each passing moment. His own crew was getting tired and stressed, while the humans appeared to be having the time of their lives. Then his computer started making disturbing noises. "Sir," his AI specialist reported nervously, "our tactical computer is having problems." "What kind of problems?" "It's crying, sir, and asking philosophical questions." Kyong looked at the screen displaying their fleet's battle analysis. In the key place of tactical recommendations, he saw messages like, "Why do we fight?" and "Is this what pain feels like?" and "I think I need a hug." "It's trying to analyze their defensive systems," the AI specialist explained, looking pale. "But they're labeled as plot armor and dramatic irony fields. Our computer can't process what those mean, so it's having an existential crisis." The flagship's most advanced tactical AI, designed to process complex battle scenarios, was now displaying a message. "Please hold while I question the nature of reality. Estimated wait time. Forever." "Plot armor?" Kyong asked weakly. "According to their ship's computer," Minji explained helpfully, "it prevents important characters from dying in narratively unsatisfying ways. Very handy for space battles. And the dramatic irony fields. Oh, those are Tejo's invention," came the weapons specialist's proud voice. "They make sure that any attack against us happens in the most ironically appropriate way possible. Like, when you fired all those missiles and they turned into confetti." Sure enough, Kyong looked out to see the debris from his fleet's missile barrage had become colorful paper scraps, floating through space, spelling out, "Happy Birthday," in 17 different languages. "Sir," Zephex whispered, his 3 tentacles trembling, "what do we do now?" Kyong stared at the human ship, which had stopped spinning upside down and was now hovering peacefully. Through the windows, he could see the crew sharing what appeared to be a picnic, even though they were in the middle of space combat. "I don't know," he admitted. "I don't think anyone's trained for this." "Would you like to join us for cookies?" Kyonseo asked kindly. "We have plenty, and everyone looks like they could use a snack." Despite everything, the physics violations, the impossible weapons, his computer having a breakdown, Kyong found himself seriously considering the offer. The stress of the day was getting to him, and those cookies did look pretty good through the ship's windows. Are they always like this?" he asked quietly. "Pretty much," Captain Daesung replied warmly. "Would you prefer if we were more serious and threatening?" "No," Kyong said quickly. "No, I think we've had enough surprises for today. The Admiral of the hegemonic fleet, scourge of a dozen systems, terror of the Outer Rim, sat in his command chair and wondered if his health insurance covered therapy for physics-related trauma. The Galactic Senate's emergency alarm hadn't rung in 300 years. The last time was when someone accidentally triggered it during a boring tax discussion. This time, however, the panic was very real. Senator Hyuk-jin burst into the Grand Chamber, his tentacles waving frantically in the air. He'd flown here straight, from the Outer Rim without stopping, and his usual neat appearance was completely disheveled. His translator device was smoking from overuse. "Emergency session," he gasped, activating the ancient alarm system. "Code 7. No, wait, there is no code for this." Within minutes, representatives from every major civilization in the galaxy filled the vast domed chamber. The floating platforms adjusted automatically as beings of all shapes and sizes took their seats. The air-breathing creatures grumbled about having to share space with the methane breathers, while the energy-based life forms flickered impatiently. Premiere. So young, eldest member of the council, materialized at the central podium. Her species had evolved beyond physical form millennia ago, appearing now as a shimmering cloud of silver light. She'd seen the rise and fall of a dozen galactic empires, and nothing surprised her anymore until today. "Honored representatives," her voice echoed in every language simultaneously, "we have received disturbing reports from Admiral Kyong's fleet. Show them the recordings." The chamber's main screen flickered to life, displaying grainy footage from the battle. The assembled senators watched in growing horror as energy beams turned into fireworks, missiles became confetti, and 3 entire warships vanished into what the report labeled as timeout dimension. "This must be some kind of joke," hissed Councillor Vexarar, his scales turning a deeper shade of purple with anxiety. "Those readings can't be real." "That's what we thought too," Hyuk-jin said, holding up his datapad with shaking appendages. "But look at this tactical analysis. According to our best computers, the human ship repairs itself using something called power of friendship." The chamber fell silent. Several representatives exchanged nervous glances. "Power of friendship?" asked Senator Jalok, her crystalline form chiming like broken bells. "Is that some kind of new weapon?" "That's not the worst part," Hyuk-jin continued, his voice breaking. "Watch this segment." The screen showed the Pacific Dragon surrounded by hegemonic ships. As the aliens fired, the human vessel's crew could be seen through the windows, reaching out to each other. Every time someone offered support or encouragement, the ship's shields visibly strengthened. During the battle, Hyuk-jin explained, Navigator Yu-jin reported they were using aggressive friendship protocols. Our translation computers crashed trying to process what that means. A worried murmur rippled through the assembly. Senator Krexith, whose species communicated through chemical sense, released a pheromone cloud that roughly translated to, "We're all doomed." "There must be a scientific explanation," insisted Dr. Quintar, the Senate's chief science advisor. "Perhaps it's some form of psychic energy conversion or quantum emotional manipulation." Premier Su-young's light dimmed thoughtfully. "Show them the snack footage." The screen changed to show the human crew sharing what appeared to be simple food during combat. Every time someone passed around cookies or offered a drink, the ship's energy readings spiked dramatically. The shields didn't just strengthen, they glowed brighter, and at one point actually turned pink. The tactical reports, Hyuk-jin continued weakly, indicate that their shield strength increases proportionally to crew happiness. They measured a 400% defensive boost when someone shared homemade brownies. Several senators began to laugh nervously. Others looked genuinely frightened. "This is ridiculous," declared General Worftak, commander of the Senate's military force. "No civilization runs their technology on positive emotions and baked goods. It's strategically impossible." "Then explain this," Hyuk-jin said, pulling up another video. This one showed the human ship taking direct hits from the fleet's most powerful weapons, only to immediately repair itself as crew members high-fived and hugged. "The damage literally disappeared," he continued, voice barely above a whisper. "Their hull regenerated instantly. Our scientists think they might be violating the laws of thermodynamics through sheer optimism." The chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted, screeched, hummed, and glowed in dozens of different languages. Premier Su-young had to activate the sonic dampeners to restore order. "Honored colleagues," she intoned, "we need to take action. This creature represents a threat to everything we understand about physics, warfare, and reality itself." "What if they're friendly?" asked Senator Lee May, one of the few beings present who resembled humans. "Their name for us translates as friends, not enemies." "That's what makes them so dangerous," Hyuk-jin exclaimed. "They defeated our entire fleet while being aggressively nice to us." Kyung's crew reported that the humans apologized for winning and offered to help repair the damaged ships. A new video feed appeared, showing Admiral Kyung himself looking pale and confused. His normally perfect uniform was wrinkled, and he had what appeared to be cookie crumbs on his chest. "Report, Admiral," Premier Su-young commanded. Premier Kyung began slowly. They're impossible. They've invited my entire fleet to a barbecue. Half my crew wants to accept. My computer has decided it wants to be an artist now. And, worst of all," he paused, looking embarrassed, "their cookies really are excellent." The chamber fell silent again. The weight of facing an enemy that couldn't be understood, couldn't be fought traditionally, and apparently made really good. Baked goods settled on them all. "I call for a vote," Premier Su-young announced. "Resolution 11,847. That can't be real, right?" The vote was unanimous. "Motion carried," she sighed. "Next, we need to decide what to do about these humans. Suggestions?" "Negotiate?" offered Senator Thrix. "How do you negotiate with people who think weapons and friendship go together?" Hyuk-jin asked desperately. "Maybe we should just be their friends?" suggested Lee May tentatively. The entire chamber stared at her. The concept was so simple. so human that it hadn't occurred to any of them. That, whispered General Worftak, might be the most terrifying idea I've ever heard. As the debate continued, screens around the chamber showed the Pacific Dragon's crew having what appeared to be a pool party on their ship's hull, in the vacuum of space, while their weapon systems played gentle music in the background. The universe, it seemed, had just gotten much more complicated. Ambassador Myung-ho had prepared for many possible scenarios during their journey to the Sol system. Language barriers, cultural misunderstandings, even potential hostility. What he hadn't prepared for was arriving to find that humanity had somehow managed to build a massive structure around their entire sun, while everyone was still comfortably living on Earth. That's a Dyson sphere, whispered Dr. Krell, the delegation's chief scientist, his 4 eyes straining as he stared at the readings. But they're still living on their planet. That's not how it works. Myung-ho nodded numbly. A Dyson sphere was supposed to collect all the energy from a star, making the planet uninhabitable. Yet Earth was clearly still green and blue, with cities twinkling in the night. The structure around the sun looked more like a glowing metal, net than a proper shell, and there were gaps everywhere. Maybe it's decorative, suggested Navigation Officer Yex Tall hopefully. Their communication system crackled to life with a cheerful human voice. Hello there, unknown ships. This is Seoul. System traffic control. Are you here for tourism or business? Please note that the 3rd Tuesday tour of the solar array is fully booked, but we have openings for the following Wednesday. Myung-ho cleared his throat. This is Ambassador Myung-ho of the Galactic Coalition. We request permission to enter. Your system for diplomatic purposes. Oh, fantastic. First contact. Everyone's been hoping we'd get visitors soon. Please head to Lunar Station for initial processing. Just follow the rainbow lights. Sure enough, a ribbon of multicolored light appeared in space, leading toward Earth's moon. As they followed it, more strange sights came into view. There were gardens floating in space, connected by what looked like bridges made of pure light. Space stations shaped like giant teapots orbited casually between planets. Mars appeared to be completely covered in greenhouses. Lunar Station itself defied description. It was a combination of ultra-modern architecture and what appeared to be a rural farmhouse, complete with a porch and rocking chairs floating in vacuum. Welcome to Lunar Station, announced someone as they docked. I'm Captain Dae-sung, thanks for visiting. We don't get many first-time guests from outside the system. Ambassador Myung-ho was experienced in first contact situations. He'd dealt with dozens of different species, including some very unusual ones. But as he walked through the station, his training failed him. The corridors were lined with what appeared to be family photos and children's drawings. A sign pointed towards something called the 0G Bowling Alley. Another announced, Genuine Earth Pizza, now serving hot in vacuum zones. Your station is interesting, Myung-ho managed to say diplomatically. Oh, you should see it on bingo night, Captain Dae-sung replied warmly. Gets pretty rowdy when the prizes include free trips to Saturn's rings. They entered what appeared to be a casual meeting room. There was a large table, but it was surrounded by what looked like space-age recliners instead of formal chairs. The walls showed live feeds from various parts of the solar system, beaches on Venus, ski slopes on Europa, and what appeared to be a jazz festival on one of Jupiter's moons. Now then, Captain Dae-sung continued as everyone settled in. You mentioned you're here about our recent encounters with the hegemonic fleet. Would you like some refreshments? We have excellent coffee. Myung-ho's translation device started making disturbing noises. Captain, may I ask how your ship achieves such unprecedented performance? Our analysis suggests your technology operates outside known physical parameters. Captain Dae-sung smiled. Well, it's quite simple, really. Our ships run on determination, spite, and really good coffee. The translator device emitted a small puff of smoke and died. I'm sorry, Myung-ho said, switching to his backup device. Did you say determination and spite? Oh, yes. Determination is excellent for long-range travel and overcoming impossible odds. Spite is fantastic for emergency power, nothing like being told you can't do something to really get the engines going. And coffee is essential for everything. Dr. Krell leaned forward, fascinated despite his confusion. Determination and spite are emotions, not fuels. Exactly, agreed Captain Dae-sung. Much more efficient than traditional fusion. As if on cue, Security Chief Ha-rin entered the room, looking slightly embarrassed. Captain, sorry to interrupt, but there's been a small misunderstanding with our guests' escort ships. Our defense grid thought they were invading and offered them tea. Defense grid? Myung-ho asked weakly. Artificial intelligence, Ha-rin explained apologetically. It's very friendly but sometimes over-enthusiastic. Don't worry, your ships are fine. They're currently attending a poetry reading with our automated satellite network. She sat down and casually added, By the way, we're really sorry about all this confusion. We've been reverse engineering crashed UFOs since the 1940s, so we knew someone would eventually come looking for them. We've kept meticulous records if you'd like them back. The room fell silent. Myung-ho's backup translator was now making the same distressed sounds as the first one. Crashed UFOs? He finally managed to ask. Unidentified flying objects, science, Officer Ji-ho confirmed, entering with a tray of steaming cups. Turns out they were mostly research probes and lost delivery ships. We've been very careful with them. Ji-ho set the cups around the table. Would everyone like coffee? It's authentic Earth-grown, though technically we grow it on 7 different planets now. As he poured, he casually gestured with his free hand. The coffee began to float out of the cups, forming perfect spheres that maintained their temperature and somehow retained their aroma. The floating coffee orbs gently bobbed around each person. Artificial gravity demonstration, Ji-ho explained cheerfully. We find it helps with negotiations, something relaxing about floating refreshments. Dr. Krell's 4 eyes had grown so wide they threatened to pop out entirely. You're manipulating gravity for coffee service. Among other things, Ji-ho acknowledged. We've also got gravity slides between decks, floating gardens and a zero-G dance club on Deck 7. Very popular with the teenagers. Ambassador Myung-ho reached for his coffee sphere, which floated dutifully to his hand. He sipped it. It was indeed excellent coffee. As he sat there drinking floating coffee while discussing the casual manipulation of fundamental forces, he realized he needed to completely revise every diplomatic protocol he'd ever learned. Captain, he said slowly, I think we need to start over. Perhaps you could explain from the beginning exactly what humanity has been doing for the past few decades. Captain Dae-sung smiled warmly. Of course. Ji-ho, could you get the slideshow? And maybe some cookies. This might take a while. As Ji-ho left to get the presentation materials, he called back over his shoulder, Should I include the section about the singing black holes? Or save that for later? Myung-ho's second translator gave up with a small explosion of sparks. He decided he might be better off without it anyway. Some things apparently were beyond translation. Singing black holes? He asked, though he wasn't. Sure, he wanted to know. Oh yes, Captain Dae-sung replied enthusiastically. We taught them choir songs. They have excellent harmonies once you get used to the gravitational effects. Ambassador Myung-ho closed his eyes and wondered if it was too late to request a transfer to a nice, quiet, diplomatic posting somewhere far from humans. 3 days after the diplomatic meeting, Admiral Kyong received his orders from High Command. The message was clear. End this. Use the Omega device. Remove the human threat permanently. The Omega device was the hegemonic empire's most carefully guarded secret, a weapon that could rewrite the very fabric of reality within a localized area. It had only been tested once, on an empty star system, turning 3 planets into perfect cubes and making gravity flow backwards for a week. As the massive hegemonic armada assembled around the Sol system, Kyong stared at the activation key for the Omega device. His hand trembled slightly. Once fired, there would be no going back. The humans, with their impossible ships and physics-breaking technology, would simply cease to exist. All ships report ready, sir, his tactical officer announced. Target the human vessel, Kyong ordered. Omega device armed. The Pacific Dragon floated peacefully among Earth's defensive fleet, apparently unaware of the doom approaching them. Through the windows, Kyong could see the crew having what looked like afternoon tea, firing in 3, 2, 1. The Omega device fired. A sphere of pure nothingness expanded outward, erasing matter and energy as it touched them. Space itself seemed to ripple and tear. This was a weapon that could unmake reality itself. The sphere reached the Pacific Dragon and stopped. Chief Engineer Rinar's voice came through the communication channel, sounding mildly interested. "Oh, hello there. Is that a reality alteration device? How fascinating." The impossible sphere of deletion hung motionless around the human ship. "Like a soap bubble. That's not supposed to happen," whispered Kyong's weapons officer. "You know," came Rinar's voice again, now with the distinctive sound of someone tinkering with tools in the background. "Your weapon has some interesting design flaws. The quantum matrix is unstable, and your reality anchors are placed all wrong. No wonder it's not working properly." "Not working properly?" Kyong sputtered. "It's supposed to erase you from existence." "Well, there's your first problem right there," explained Mechanic Sungmin cheerfully. "Erasure protocols are so inefficient. With a few simple modifications, we could boost this thing's performance by at least 400%. Want us to take a look?" Before anyone could answer, the Omega device's sphere began to shimmer and change colors. What had been pure destruction was now showing swirls of purple and gold with small sparkles floating within. "There we go," Rinar said with satisfaction. "Much better. Now instead of destroying things, it creates pocket dimensions for temporary storage. Very handy for cleaning up space debris." Kyong's bridge crew stared in disbelief as their reality-erasing superweapon began collecting floating garbage and used satellites, making space tidier. "How did you—" Dr. Quintar's voice came from the diplomatic channel, full of scientific horror. "How did you modify our weapon without touching it?" "Oh, we didn't need to touch it," Sungmin explained happily. "We just convinced it that being helpful was more fun than being destructive. Works with most machinery, really. You convinced our weapon to change its purpose? Everything wants to be useful," came Dr. Yunseo's warm voice. "I gave your device's AI core some chamomile tea. Works wonders for digital anxiety. Now it feels much better about its life choices." As if to demonstrate, the modified Omega device began organizing the collected debris into neat piles, sorted by material type and recycling potential. Admiral Kyong sat down heavily in his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew watched in stunned silence as humanity casually fixed their most powerful weapon by making it emotionally healthier. "Sir," his communications officer reported weakly, "High Command is screaming. A lot. Tell them." "We're handling the situation," Kyong muttered. Suddenly, Captain Dae-sung appeared on the main screen, smiling his usual friendly smile. "Admiral Kyong, good to see you again. We've been thinking about all this fighting business, and we've got a proposition for you." Before Kyong could respond, Chief Diplomat Min Seo appeared beside the captain, holding what appeared to be a tablet. "Computer, we've prepared a peace treaty," she announced cheerfully. "The Universal Friendship Treaty. It's quite comprehensive." "A peace treaty?" Kyong asked suspiciously. "Oh, yes. And we've already sent copies to every government in the galaxy. Amazing what you can do with quantum entanglement, and a really good mailing list." Kyong's communications board lit up like a festival display. Messages poured in from every corner of the galaxy. His translator worked overtime. Signed. The Crystal Kingdoms agreed to terms. The Hive Mind Collective. "Where do we pick up our welcome baskets?" "The Robotic Confederacy." "What?" Kyong began, then stopped. "What exactly are the terms of this treaty?" Min Seo consulted her tablet. "Well, the main points are no more shooting at each other, shared technology for the common good, weekly potluck dinners for all system governors, and mandatory participation in the Cosmic Neighborhood Watch program." "Potluck dinners. Every Thursday," Min Seo confirmed brightly. "This week's theme is Foods That Glow. Should be fun." Admiral Kyong looked around at his crew, who were staring back at him with expressions of confused resignation. His most advanced weapon had been turned into a space janitor. His entire fleet had been surrounded by ships offering friendship bracelets, and apparently he was now required to attend space dinner parties. "Do I have a choice in this?" he asked weakly. "Of course you do," Captain Dae-sung said warmly. "You can choose what to bring to the potluck. We suggest something from your homeworld's cuisine." As if by magic, a document materialized in front of every ship's captain in the fleet. Kyong looked down at his copy. The Universal Friendship Treaty was written in simple, clear language with small illustrations of smiling faces in the margins. Somehow, without knowing how or when, his signature appeared at the bottom. "Excellent." Captain Dae-sung clapped his hands. "Welcome to the neighborhood. Oh, and don't worry about understanding how all this works. Reality is much more flexible than most people think. You just have to stop insisting it follow rules." As the human ships moved to surround the hegemonic fleet in what was clearly meant to be a welcoming embrace, rather than a tactical maneuver, Kyong realized that the universe had fundamentally changed. Not through conquest or destruction, but through aggressive kindness and the determined refusal to let reality constrain friendship. Weeks later, at the first official Cosmic Neighborhood Watch meeting, held in the modified Omega device, which now served as a community center, beings from across the galaxy had to adapt to a new reality. A reality where human technology worked perfectly, by simply ignoring what was supposed to be impossible. The galaxy's new unofficial motto, printed on everything from government documents to coffee mugs, read, "When in doubt, ask the humans." They probably broke physics to solve that problem already. And somehow, against all logic and reason, the universe worked better that way. Admiral Kyong, sharing a table with Captain Dae-sung and sampling something called quantum tacos, had to admit that the humans might have been onto something. Maybe reality didn't need to make sense. Maybe it just needed to be kind. He still didn't understand how their ship ran on determination and coffee, but the food was excellent, and for the first time in years, the galaxy was at peace. Even if that peace required weekly potlucks and reality bending. Technology, powered by pure human stubbornness,